As a brand new seminary grad, I moved to Germany for a year to be the director of youth ministries for the U.S. community in Frankfurt. And while living in Germany, I had the opportunity to go on a Lutherland tour to what was then known as East Germany. One evening, a couple of ministers came to the hotel to talk to us and tell us about the East German church. They also were professors at a local seminary. And they spoke to us in a very guarded way, clearly choosing their words carefully, not always fully answering our questions, very aware that every word was likely being monitored. A few of us had the opportunity to go back with them to the seminary, and all of us guarded our words very carefully as we walked the few blocks to this three-story house that was home not only to the seminary, but to 2 or 3 of the faculty members and their families as well. And it was in this private, more intimate setting that we were given the very best of what they had from their limited resources, and also that our conversation was freer and more relaxed. Our questions were answered, and we learned about the challenges and hardships facing this seminary, the commitment of the faculty and students to act on the call that they believed God was making on their lives. We learned about the lack of books and space and freedom, making a quality education very difficult. We learned about the risks that were a part of everyday life as they tried to live out their understanding of what being a Christian really was on the edges of society. It was sobering, quite sobering, to be confronted with how much I took the church for granted, with how little risk it really was for me to be a Christian, to go to seminary, become a minister. Our East German hosts, it seems, knew something about being a Christian not really understood by most of the others in our group, not really experienced by most of the others in our group. They knew that there was a cost to following the Jesus way. They knew that it was not Jesus, infant, tender, meek, and mild, as much as it was God breaking into the world with a whole new way of being that would turn the world upside down so that perhaps the world could be turned right side up and made right. This Jesus, who started this whole Christian thing, is he safe? No, not really, but he's good. This East German seminary was church in the margins, and in the margins, it found its commitment and vitality. If you take an honest look at the history of the church all through the years, this has always been so. The church on the margins is vital and thriving, certain of its commitments, living them out in daily life. Exciting, thriving, growing churches in this country, at least many of them, also are on the margins among immigrant communities in transitional neighborhoods, often made up of people not likely to be found in our so-called mainline churches. If these congregations take their cues about being Christian from mainline sisters and brothers, those churches in the center of our society, they may soon find themselves sliding into decline along with the rest of us. Throughout history, when the church moves from the margins to the center, it is in danger of blurring its focus, assimilating to the larger society, losing its transformative edge. Churches on the margins, even as they struggle with many challenges and lack of resources, have an edginess to them. They can embody the transformative power of God, challenging individuals and society to change and be made whole. Sometimes it seems nice to be in a comfortable church, a clean, respectable establishment with orderly, smoothly running programs, predictable challenges and opportunities. But the action, the movement of God's Spirit may not be in the nice, clean hotel out front on Main Street, but in the smelly stable out back in the manger where the cows eat, where you don't really know what's going to happen next or who's going to come through the door. Is being a Christian, living in real Christian community, safe? No, not really, but it's good. We say, I am a Christian. We sing, I want to be a Christian. We join ourselves in community and call it a Christian community of faith. We live in a country considered mostly Christian, often struggling with how to relate to other faiths in our midst. Often we're so caught up in the societal norms there is no discernible difference between our community of faith and any other group to which we belong. Are we ready, honestly ready, to risk being Christian, deeply Christian, come what may, allowing the love of God to infuse our lives in such a way that everything changes, allowing our eyes to be opened so that we see the world in new ways, allowing ourselves to genuinely welcome other people, especially those on the margins of society, in ways that we have never done before? Are we willing to learn to be Christian on the way, changing with each step of the journey, with each new insight? Are we ready to really risk being Christian, allowing the transformative power of God to lure us in and make us whole? Sometime, somewhere, a voice cried out in the desert, and now we must decide whether to listen and what to do. Will you pray with me? God, we want to be Christian. We think we know what it means to be Christian. Open us to the possibilities that being Christian is so much more than we ever imagined, perhaps even different from what we expect. We want to live in Christian community. We think we know what it means to be Christian community. Open us to the possibilities that being Christian community is so much more than we ever imagined, perhaps even different from what we expect. As we make our way to the manger, may the Christ child lure us into new life. This Christ child, born on the margins of society, growing up to stand against the powers and principalities. Emmanuel, God with us, may we risk following you and be made whole. Amen.